Hello and welcome back to Boring Dad Gaming, where today we're going to be continuing with Two Falls, Nishu Takwachina. I'm still pronouncing it that way. Let's continue. We're in Chapter 2 now, Episode 2, beg your pardon. Usi Takwachin, Falls Beginnings. Let's start. Coast of the St. Lawrence River. 3 days after discovering the White Wolf's remains. So we're with Maikan now, I guess?
Good. These are definitely his tracks. Seems he headed for the bay.
So Maikan seems to be tracking
I'll
Pierre,
be back soon, great-grandfather.
who was with Jeanne. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. It is an incredibly pretty game, isn't it? I like the... I guess it's sunset rather than sunrise, but it's it looks nice.
Whoa. That's too big to be an Arwal corpse. What happened here? Looks like the marks our hunters leave when they drag caribou through snow. But whoever did this was dragging something else.
That's the captain's body, isn't it? That's where he was. I guess maybe Jeanne took him away to, I'm going to guess, bury him?
What's this? Almost looks like painted tree bark. But I can't tell if this is supposed to be a person or a spirit. Well, best not leave it lying around. Last thing I need is another spirit's grudge.
Card money. I'll open some of the codex pages a little bit later, I think. Let's get into the action a bit more here. Ooh.
The more I looked, the less I believed my eyes. It wasn't a rotting whale, but a rotting canoe, big as a Shapatwan. In my mind, something that big shouldn't even float, let alone break.
Infuriating.
Accident or not, part of me remembers thinking they left it to wither on purpose. As if they enjoyed watching things decay.
I guess we're still following those drag marks. Let's just have a nose around, see what else you can find.
Blood soaked so deep it practically dyed the wood. Such strange texture. What kind of animal hide did they make this from?
So the drag marks go off up this way, don't they? Campfire.
Another campfire.
Couple of oh, it's got Capitan's
Still
footprints.
A few embers. The thief didn't leave long ago. Didn't leave alone either. Too small to be a wolf. Maybe a coyote. Why would one come this close to a fire? These tracks aren't his. Too slender. Different kind of moccasins. A woman, maybe? Maybe they had something to do with what got dragged off the beach.
There is quite a lot of beach down here. I mean, I'm wondering if there's more to find this way, like, you know, off the beaten track slightly more. I wonder how far we can wander. There's something there. It's another one of those cards.
Another piece of bark. This one's painting is different. I feel bad for whoever made these. All this hard work just to end up in the dirt.
What's that? Oh, that's the rosary. Jeanne's rosary.
Some kind of pendant. Maybe the wolf killer dropped it? I'm still not sure why I chose to keep that thing. Maybe I was tired of seeing things left to rot.
I wonder if Maikan and Jeanne will meet up at some point. I'm assuming they will, but not sure. I reckon that's probably it. I don't think there's going to be any paths leading off this beach beyond the one we're supposed to take. I can't imagine I can't go up this way, right? Alright, time to follow those tracks. Just back to the beach. Yeah, they buried the captain, didn't they?
Is that? A white man's grave. Barely a day old. Did he dig it? Why? Why bury someone now after leaving your brother for the crows? Fur traders. Just like the ones I found back home. Maybe they know something about the thief I'm after. Even if asking is risky, I need help to make sense of this.
We've made him extremely distrustful of foreigners, so we'll see how this plays out.
Excuse me! You there! I come in peace! They're trying to kill me! I have to.
Laissez-moi lui parler. Fred, you can come out. My partners will not shoot again.
He speaks Innu?
These men mistook you for a grave robber. If you come out and agree to speak with me, I'll convince them you mean no harm. You have my word.
Oh, monsieur. C'est un enfant.
Thank you for your trust. Now, why don't we give this greeting another try?
Okay.
Tout ce qui avait de valeur a déjà été pris.
All this for a white pelt? Quite the unbelievable journey, Maikan.
Unbelievable. As in, you don't believe me?
I mean, your winter spirit sounds different from the one I've heard of. But I can't deny the cold. And I don't know many Innu who'd come this far just to lie. Still, your name means wolf, and you're after a wolf's pelt? Quite the coincidence. Come with me.
So he has like an indigenous name. Interesting. Tejon.
Let's see. If your poacher was heading west, he probably plans to sell the fur at Quebec.
That Quebec.
He butchered that animal just to line his pockets?
Most likely. Frenchmen pay good money for white pelts like that. Once sold, getting it back will be impossible.
No! If even worse happens to the wolf's remains, the spirit will...
Breathe, Maikan. His tracks were fresh. He can't be that far. Give us a moment to finish up and we'll set off together. All right?
Wait, you want me to come with you?
Of course. We're heading west too. And traveling as a group is always safer. What do you say?
I can't. I'm sorry.
I had a feeling you'd say that. Let's continue our talk in private. I won't try to change your mind. But there's something you should know about them. And it could save Innu lives.
Huh?
Je pars dire adieu à notre ami. Je reviens bientôt.
Let's have a little look at his codex entry as we're talking to him. Dehon Westasta is compassionate, wise, and good-humoured. He has an honest laugh with a smile that feels as familiar to me as a lifelong friend's. And yet, something about him fills me with unease. I trust his intentions are good, that he does this for the Wendat's sake, just as he claims, but he wears the white man's clothes and speaks their tongue with such ease, he often feels more like a stranger than the outsiders themselves. Not just a person bridging a gap between cultures, but a person who has been irreparably transformed by the changes said bridging has wrought. I wonder if that's why his eyes always seem to hide such a quiet, lonely sadness. Historical facts. While fur traders were essential to Nouvelle France's economic growth, interpreters were perhaps even more important. These men, and sometimes women, were not merely translators. They also served as diplomats, ensuring favourable commerce and tenable peace between their respective nations, all while acting as guides thanks to their extensive knowledge of the territory. One of the colony's best-known interpreters was Etienne Brule, a French trader who spent the majority of his adult life among the Wendat people, eventually being welcomed into their confederacy as an official member. That said, the region's first interpreters were mainly indigenous and not necessarily by choice. Early French expeditions resulted in multiple abductions, with prisoners tasked to learn French and assist colonization efforts by means of translation. Others learned the language as necessity, to guarantee fair compensation during abusive trades, or broker military protection agreements. What else have we got in the fauna? Narwhal. Oh, let's look at narwhal. Years ago, we met Inuit hunters from the distant north who told us the story of how narwhal got her tusk. Long ago, there was a cruel woman with a long, spiralling braid. Her son was blind, but a skilled hunter. He could harpoon anything, so long as he was told where to aim. But every time he succeeded, the woman claimed he missed, so she could keep all the meat to herself, starving her sightless child. One day, the son discovered his mother's deceit, and on their next beluga hunt, he tied a rope to his harpoon, with the other end attached to his mother's waist. And when she told him to strike the biggest whale of all, he succeeded. The woman was dragged into the water by the harpoon's rope, drowning her to death, with her braid transforming into a great tusk atop the beluga's head. Ever since that day, all the whale's descendants have long, spiraling braids. Historical facts, sometimes called sea unicorns by early European eyewitnesses. Narwhals are Arctic whales with coiling ivory tusks protruding from their upper lips. These teeth can measure more than 3 meters long and feature millions of sensitive nerve endings, helping them detect prey or salination changes in the seawater. Narwhals are known to migrate in summer, often approaching the coasts of Greenland or the Hudson Bay area. They were occasionally hunted by Innu, but most often by Inuit, an indigenous community native to Canada's distant north. Not only did they subsist on the whale's meat and blubber, but they used ivory to make tools, sinew to make rope, and even its skin to sew clothes. What else have we got here? Oh wow, there's a lot of stuff here. I'll probably work through it gradually, rather than sitting here just reading for a long period of time. But yeah, there's more to get through. And it's interesting too. I hope you guys are interested with it as I am, because I'm not that familiar with sort of native North American, Canadian cultures and stuff. So and the early sort of colonization of it. So it's interesting to me.
So, what's this something I need to know?
Got your attention, eh? Let me ask you something. Why would you rather travel by yourself than be near their kind?
The things they're capable of, it terrifies me. It grows more trusting.
Those people, their actions make no sense. And that scares me.
Well, once you learn some French and get to know them a little.
I don't want to get to know them. What the poacher did to that wolf should never make sense. Not to anyone. And I can't risk trusting people who think it does.
My name, Tehon Wastasta. It means he who stands tall. Always liked that name. Made me believe I could weather anything for my people's sake. But they just call me Tehon.
Do they have trouble pronouncing your full name?
That's part of the reason, probably. But see, the thing is, other Wendat call me Tehon too nowadays.
Your own... Why?
Because I preach my people's values while wearing a white man's skin. Some see that as a dangerous compromise.
Let's be more understanding.
Don't you work with these traders to help your people?
I do indeed, but things are a little more complicated than that. Us Wendat were once tens of thousands strong, thriving through alliances with other nations. We thought white men should be such allies to help us grow and fight back Haudenosaunee. But their greed caused plagues and famines, destroyed nations and families, brothers and sisters. The ones in black robes did even worse.
Is that priests?
That's why many Wendat loathe the fact that we still work with them. But we do it to survive.
Yeah, we're going to try and grow more trusting
I get it
because
now.
he's really distrustful
You're
at
not
the moment.
submitting to them, you're adapting to them.
That's right. Guiding, translating, promoting commerce. It lets me keep avarice in check and fur trades fair, all while preserving Wendat values. Not a perfect solution, obviously, but it lets me stand tall for my people. And I'd rather struggle doing that than suffer doing nothing. It's easy to let fear get the better of us when it comes to them. But sometimes protecting our people means learning to understand, not learning to fight. Be sure to remember that once you find this poacher.
Let's, I mean, I can see the sense of it. I can. They'd have probably been wiped out if they'd
Learning to understand can save
not
the
tried to
Innu.
adapt.
Thank you, Tehon Wastasta. I did need to hear that.
My pleasure, friend. That said, there is one exception. Some white men are beyond understanding.
What do you mean by that?
They wear long black robes
Yeah.
with cross-shaped pendants. And trusting them can be fatal.
Cross-shaped?
And I'm not sure they can be understood. Best keep away from anyone bearing that symbol.
You mean like this?
That was an
Where
optional
did you
discovery.
get that?
On the beach. I thought it might be the fur thieves.
You need to be very careful, Maikan. The person you're pursuing may be more dangerous than you realize.
And we're taking Jeanne more dogmatically religious as well. Largely accidentally, but still. Could be an interesting meet-up when if and when they do meet up. 1 week later, somewhere in the heart of Nouvelle-France's wilderness.
I learned 2 things from traveling with Pierre. First is that he wasn't exactly a good man. Second is that it didn't take a good man to be a good teacher.
What's the holdup?
Oh, what's this?
I found supper. See? Chanterelle. If only we had butter, we could...
Those ain't chanterelles. You see that glow? That means they're toxic. So don't eat them, unless you want to beg God to end the bloodiest runs of your life.
Oh, how did you learn that?
Personal experience. Anyway, come on. I think there's a good place to set up camp ahead.
Have a look at those jack-o'-lantern mushrooms. I still can't believe these horrible things look identical to chanterelles. Back when I was very young, and my parents were alive, food was scarce, but the woods next to the farm were teeming with mushrooms. When my mother and I went foraging, finding a batch of chanterelles felt more magical than a hoard of jewels. Nothing could compare to the flavour of those golden treasures, sautéed in rich butter and seasoned with forest herbs. Sweet as fresh apricots, with a light, peppery aftertaste. Every single bite would melt in my mouth, not to mention put a beaming smile on my mother's tired face. That memory alone will always make chanterelles my favourite food. Historical facts. Also known as Omphallotus illudens, jack-o'-lantern mushrooms are vivid orange fungi that typically grow along tree bark, named for their bioluminescent properties. The mushroom's gills emit a dull green glow when exposed to darkness, and can do so for up to 60 hours after being picked. This is meant to attract nocturnal insects, who then disperse the spores across larger surface areas for more mushrooms to grow. Despite their resemblance to chanterelles, jack-o'-lanterns are not recommended for human consumption, as they contain toxins known to induce cramps, vomiting, bloody diarrhea, or worse. Though not inherently lethal, complications of these side effects can sometimes lead to death. Ironically, medical researchers have determined these toxins to have considerable antibacterial properties, which could potentially be refined into alternative cancer treatments. Interesting. Captain! Just thinking, I'm going to be very annoyed if the dog doesn't make it all the way to the end of the game with us, for any reason. What is it, Captain? What have you noticed?
Why are all these trees rotting?
Tell me. He's very interested, but I guess we've got to follow Pierre. Come on, boy. Here he comes. It's a good thing she didn't get shipwrecked with a dachshund. If it was anything like my dog, he would, get one sniff of something like a rabbit or some of the undergrowth, and he'd be off, and you'd never see him again. All right, what's this?
What a day. How much longer till Quebec?
At this rate, 2 more weeks, maybe a month.
Whoa.
I pray to Christ himself and God our Father, who loved us. By your grace, give us eternal encouragement and good hope. Strengthen
Why do you
our...
keep doing that?
Excuse me?
You know how to read, don't you? So why is it you never open that Bible?
I might try making her a bit less dogmatic where I can. Here we go.
I don't want to read it, Pierre. I just need a substitute for the rosary I lost. And this is all I have.
Oh, bullshit. Girl like you'd get her knuckles whipped raw just for touching that book back in France. Now you've got a golden opportunity to read it cover to cover, and you don't even care.
Well, maybe I'm a little curious, but it's still sacrilege for women to read this. And no matter how inspiring God's words are, they aren't worth sinning over, are they?
Only one way to find out, ain't there? Anyway, enough dawdling. We ain't done the day yet. I'll hack us some firewood. You get us birch branches for kindling. Should be some over there.
Again? I'm sick of kindling duty. Can't I chop firewood tonight?
No way in hell. I ain't never letting you near my axe after what happened last time.
I told you! My hand slipped!
Yeah. And my big toe damn near slipped off my foot. Just get the damn birch, Jeanne. Sooner you're done, sooner we eat.
Fine.
So this is the Jeanne bit that appeared in the demo. So it's interesting they took it from the second chapter in the game, rather than her sort of introduction. I guess because it kind of shows off a bit more spookiness than her initial bit. Although she did think she saw a werewolf at the beginning. I found that quite spooky, because it literally did look like one.
Can't believe the way Pierre treats me sometimes. And what's with him trying to make me read the Bible? Sure, it's tempting, but...
I saw a comment on, I think it was one of the Steam reviews, saying that it's interesting how differently the forest appears in Maikan's chapters and Jeanne's. And I can kind of see that here. Like, she kind of perceives the forest as, you know, sort of dark, gloomy, like a bit spookier and scarier, whereas Maikan sees it sort of warmer, friendlier,
those toxic mushrooms.
more familiar,
If they grow all
which
over
is
the place,
which is kind of cool art
I'll
direction,
really
actually. I
need
hadn't
to be
even picked up
careful.
on that. But yeah, that's cool. Sort of good, you know, just sort of artistic storytelling without kind of hitting people around the head with it, you know?
At least he wasn't wrong about the birch.
White birch. I won't read that right now. Maybe at the end of each episode I'll do like a couple of codex entries that
My feet are killing me.
don't jump out quite as much.
I need a break.
Like, read them all eventually, but like the ones that are sort of very character or story related, I sort of find those maybe a little more interesting.
Might as well finish my prayer. I pray to Christ himself and God, our Father who loved us. By your grace, give us. It really is quiet out here. Maybe I can take one look, just to make sure he hears me.
Read it.
Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. This is a sign. He really is watching over me.
No, that's Kappa 10.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you. We better hurry. He'll throw a fit if he finishes before we do.
Ben's got something. I remember playing the demo worried that was going to fall on my head or something. Oh, gone. Oh, he's here. Puppy. Oh, we can stroke him again. Yeah, we can stroke him again. The rest of the video is just me repeatedly petting Capitan over and over again. Twice is probably enough.
What are these? Almost looks like deer tracks, but do deer get this big? Not sure I want to find out.
Caribou. Are they caribou or moose? Oh, it says moose. Okay, let's have a look at moose. Before leaving France, I was privy to countless rumours about the New World's elk, which travellers claimed were abundant beyond number, and much bigger than those of Europe. Those stories I could believe, but the ones about even bigger deer called moose? They always felt like campfire tales about monsters that shouldn't exist, on par with flying dragons. How could there be animals twice the height of normal men, feared by even the fiercest gun-wielding hunters? How could they have antlers big as their bodies, shaped like hands with too many fingers, grasping forth like claws? Then I saw those cloven hoofprints, the ones that looked as though they were left by Satan himself, and I began believing every word of every story they'd ever told. Historical facts. Though breeds of moose were once native to Europe, they were hunted to extinction during the Middle Ages. I didn't know that. And all were significantly smaller than their North American counterparts. Canadian moose can weigh almost a ton, can stand over 2 meters or 7 feet at the shoulder, and their enormous palm-like antlers, which only grow on males, can span just as wide. Despite being herbivores who subsist on bark and brush, moose are among the most aggressive mammals on the continent, known to attack humans more than bears or wolves combined. Wow. Normally they are docile, but mating seasons render males incredibly temperamental, on top of doubling their muscle mass due to surging testosterone. A charging moose can plough through chest-high snow at over 35 miles per hour, kill a bear with a single kick, or even flip small cars by thrashing them with their antlers. Bloody hell. Fittingly, native myths refer to them both as symbols of endurance and the descendants of a great monster. Their hard-to-hunt meat and hides were likewise highly treasured. Jesus. I don't think I've ever seen a live moose. I've been to lots of zoos, but I don't think they've ever been in them. In the UK, anyway. Come on, Capitan. Right, there's the kindling. Was there anything up there? This is the sort of alternate path, wasn't it? Check if there was anything up here to discover. I don't think so. Hey, boy.
These should do the trick.
Hey, you done yet?
Almost! Come on, boy. Let's head back before he...
Jeanne, you okay?
I'm fine! I'll have to look for another way back!
Make it quick. Don't like the looks of this.
It's so cold all of a sudden.
Capitan!
Wait up! Boy? Frozen solid. How is that even possible? Capitaine! Can you hear me?
Wow.
What in the world?
Can't go any further down there, but... Oh. Can she actually die? They seem like the cold was catching up to me there. I'm sure she probably can't, but I don't know.
Oh god.
It's a moose, or an elk, or caribou, or something.
Is that you? Pierre! Pierre!
Christ, there you are. The hell happened out there?
I don't know. All of a sudden there was this mist and...
Shit, did it follow me?
Follow? What do you mean?
You need to run, fast and far as you can. Hide somewhere and wait. I'll find you.
But what about...
There's no time. Either jump or I push you. Now, woman!
Holy crap. Let's go! Capitan, I assume you're following me. Capitan? There he is.
Hey! Wait for me!
There he is.
Capitan! Lord, I beg of you. You can't let me die. Oh no!
Shit. Oh god. It's like Homer falling down the gorge. Ooh, okay, that was the end of the chapter, huh? This is episode 3, Cash Pishkau. Probably that's how you pronounce that. Ground Made Brittle by Autumn Hoarfrost. Interesting. Okay, I'm actually going to have a quick look at a couple of codex entries there that I've not read yet. Let's do it in Jeanne. I think they're... Oh no, some of them are different. Some of them might be the same. No, they look like they're all different. Okay, let's have a look at white birch, as we found in that episode. Birch grow in France too, but the ones growing around here seem different. Back home they have dense, drooping leafy boughs, almost like weeping willows. Sometimes there's so much foliage you can barely tell the difference. Meanwhile, in the New World, birch are much bigger, much more abundant, and have sparse branches that point straight up, highlighting the white bark's jagged black patterns. And maybe it's my imagination, but I swear some of those patterns look like eyes. I thought that in that last episode. I didn't mention it, but she goes under a log at one point. I thought, looks like it does look like it's covered in eyes. As if every tree is stalking me, blinking when I look away. Is this what Pierre meant when he said the woods were breathing down his neck? Historical facts. White birch trees are found across Canada and have thin, peeling, papery bark which burns very easily even when wet. However, until it reaches the point of combustion, the bark actually insulates heat and water surprisingly well. This, combined to its supple sturdiness, make it ideal for crafting. Many indigenous nations would sew strips of birch to build baskets, kettles, bags, wigwams, and canoes, hence why the tree is sometimes called canoe birch. Artists from the, Anishinaabeg and Algonquian nations even use the material as canvas for birch bark biting, an art where small incisions are made with their teeth to create elaborate, entrancing patterns. Furthermore, birch bark is a significant winter food source for moose. When temperatures drop and birch are abundant, these gigantic herbivores will often be nearby. This seems like a good reason to stay away from them. Let's look at Quebec. I've actually been to Quebec, although not in the mid-1600s, I must say. People in France say Quebec is like a fortress built atop rocky cliffs that twinkle like diamonds, that nowhere, not even Versailles, has more prosperous bounties of silk-soft furs, that its winters are so cold they freeze the blood in your veins, that vicious natives attack the walls night and day without mercy. Yet even peasant women can live free within those walls if they are strong and determined. Most people wouldn't dream of coming here, but I gave up everything back home for a chance to make Quebec my home. There I could be anything, a teacher, a caretaker, maybe even a nun. I pray to survive long enough to find out what I'll become. Historical facts. Derived from the Algonquian word Quebec, meaning where the river narrows, Quebec was formerly known as Stadacona, a vast, Haudenosaunee village, and major point of contact between indigenous nations. In 1535, French explorer Jacques Cartier discovered Stadacona, using the village as a hub to chart the region's commercial potential. In doing so, he propagated illnesses, killing many Haudenosaunee. Furthermore, Cartier kidnapped villagers before departing, hoping they might convince King Francis I of this new world's untapped wealth. These prisoners never returned home and perished in France. In 1608, colonial administrator Samuel de Champlain returned to Stadacona, only to find it deserted and destroyed. Presumably epidemics culled Haudenosaunee numbers so dramatically they could no longer repel neighbouring warbands. Seeing the area's rocky bluffs and strategic location as assets, Champlain established a trading post upon Stadacona's ruins, eventually transforming it into Nouvelle France's first true city. This settlement soon became the target of vicious Haudenosaunee raids, which lasted several decades. Oh. Okay, so there's a couple in Maikan as well I'd like to work through. So let's read about his great-grandfather. I wouldn't be who I am today without great-grandfather's teachings. As medicine man, he taught me where to look for plants that will soothe nausea and fever, and how to prepare them in concoctions or thank Mother Earth for providing what we need. As a former hunter, he taught me how to build my first knife, how to track down or skin caribou, and why we ought to honour every creature that provides us food. As a storyteller, he taught me connections to our history, tales that formed my morals, and ways to laugh when life is hardest. We may not be related, but he still treated me like family, same as everyone else back home, and that is why all of us, young and old alike, call him our great-grandfather. Historical facts. Though their exact responsibilities vary from culture to culture, elders play integral roles regarding the preservation and prosperity of indigenous communities. They act not only as healers, leaders, or spiritual guides, but also as keepers of ancestral knowledge and transmitters of oral history, allowing traditional practices and values to endure throughout generations. Much of what we know today regarding native North American culture survived colonial epidemics, erasure, and ethnocide thanks to the efforts of such elders. One thing to note is that elders can be of any gender and are not necessarily elderly, merely esteemed figures who carry significant wisdom in their respective fields. In modern days, even younger activists, artists, or historians may be regarded as elders, as their work contributes to the continued preservation of a nation's values and intergenerational solidarity. Interesting. What else do we got? Let's read about the card money. That was kind of weird. So this is from Maikan's perspective. I've met Algonquian people who paint or carve birch bark into fragile works of detailed art, but I've never seen anything quite like this. The paint doesn't seem made from smoked fruit or clay, and the person they've depicted is wearing some of the most bizarre clothes I've ever seen. But somehow, what's even stranger are those wriggling black symbols scrawled onto the back side. Innu, who've dealt with white men before, tell me symbols like these are almost like magic, allowing white men to have conversations without speaking a single word, like playing card games. But that has to be impossible. The others were probably playing tricks on me to see if I'd get scared. No historical facts. Chapoutoine. What's that? Chapoutoine are long, two-doored, cone-shaped shelters we build with bark and buckskin, allowing larger groups of Innu to gather under a single roof, and the biggest, most joyous gatherings of them all only take place in the summer, when we all reunite. Families who parted ways for winter caribou hunts gather once again. Together we feast and dance and celebrate another passage of the seasons. Lovers become married, children earn their names, and we make the most of each other's company before setting off again. I look forward to next summer. I hope there will be one. Historical facts. For the normally nomadic Innu, summer is a season of rest, celebration, and perhaps most importantly, preparation. Families and communities who went their separate ways in autumn rejoice, and exchange resources, either with each other or at European trading posts. Women tan caribou hides and sew them into clothes, all while weaving baskets or tea dolls for children. Men gather birch bark, build canoes for coming journeys, and craft tools out of bone. Ingredients for infusions and medicines are gathered by elders, whereas berries picked in spring are smoked to make paint, mixed with lard to create preserves, or gladly eaten raw. For this reason, a poor summer can spell danger for Innu communities, the same way brutal winters might, and in some cases the former could make the latter exponentially worse. And there's muskets. A year ago, in spring, my family did trade with a Malecite hunter who had an unusual scar along his shoulder. He told us it was from a white man who attacked him with a strange weapon, one that cracked like thunder, or a splitting boulder spewing smoke and splintering wood from a dozen paces away. I struggled to imagine such a thing until today. Now I struggle to imagine how that Malecite hunter survived. A single one of those roaring staves could kill a full-grown caribou quicker than 10 Innu spears. No wonder there was so much blood when I found the white wolf. Historical facts. Perhaps one of the most revolutionary weapons in the history of warfare, flintlock muskets were single-shot rifles integral to the survival of Nouvelle France's colonists. The guns were highly prized trade commodities among native communities, as they facilitated difficult hunting practices that originally relied on spears or arrows. This first proved profitable for Europeans, as easier hunts meant more frequent fur trade, but things took a sour turn when hostile nations acquired their own. Muskets in the 17th century also had a fatal design flaw. Reloading was tedious and often dangerous, since both black powder and bullets had to be manually rammed down the weapon's barrel one after the other. This could result in frequent sudden misfires, costing marksmen their fingers, if not their lives. And then we'll do honouring animals. One thing white men can't seem to understand is that this land does not belong to anyone. We belong to it. The reason Innu live in harmony with nature, and the reason nature continues to offer us so many resources, is because we treasure every part of it, treating every living thing with the utmost respect. That way, there will always continue to be resources worth treasuring in the future, be they plants or animals. This is why the poacher's actions were so heartless. Hacking apart an animal only to leave the corpse lying there, teeming with maggots, is the same as defiling the remains of his own family or the future of his children, and something tells me he'd stoop to that if it meant sating his own greed. And then we have Tatuskak, which I think is where Maikan's from, isn't it? Oh yeah, the place my family calls home and the path to our ancestral hunting grounds. Its name means bosom, and we call it this because of the two round hills on its western coast, a fitting name for these fertile lands where Mother Earth nourishes us all. Here, ice from winter fjords travels down river, and we harpoon the seals that rest upon it. Here we hunt geese returning home in spring, following the water to hunt autumn caribou up north. Here I follow the paths my ancestors have walked, and forge new ones for those who will outlive me. Here the white men have settled, begun their trades, built their colonies. With each passing year we feel their presence stretch a little further, and Mother Earth's bosom nourishes us less and less. Also known as Tadoussac, the first trading post in Nouvelle France was established here back in 1599. Founders hoped that this prime location at the confluence of the Saguenay and St. Lawrence rivers, the intersection of many native territories, would greatly benefit the fur trade. However, rugged land, fierce winters, and frequent attacks by hostile Haudenosaunee forces proved too severe for most European settlers. As a result, French commerce would not flourish until several decades later, though exchanges between Innu, Micmac, Malecite, and other native nations remained prosperous throughout. Today, Tadoussac is a rural village surrounded by conservation areas and untouched wilderness. Tourists come from across the world to visit the fjords upriver, watch whales return to sea, or discover indigenous traditions. There we go. So I think I've read all the available codex entries now, so let's just pop back and I'll say I'll leave it there, and next time we'll head into episode 3. So thanks very much for watching this episode of Two Rivers. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, if you could hit that thumbs up button, that's always very much appreciated, as would be any comments. Let me know what you think about the story so far, any of the things we've learned through the codex as well, most of which I'm largely completely unaware of, and so I'm interested to find out more. If you're watching this and enjoyed it and not yet subscribed to the channel, if you could do that, that'd be amazing. So thanks very much, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.